Hey everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back to my subscribers. This is Bald Guy Money, often imitated but never duplicated. And in this video, I am going to tell you how much gold you need to have to be in the top 20%, 5%, and 1% of gold owners worldwide. As always, this is not financial advice, and please take a moment right now to hit both the like and subscribe buttons. It is your tool to tell YouTube what you think is important in this world, and it helps this message reach more people. Thank you for that. So, we have already covered what it takes to be in the top 20%, 5%, and 1% of silver owners worldwide, and this is a reminder of what that looks like. And if you're new to the channel, please keep in mind that these numbers apply to the entire globe and all people who own silver, which includes both casual owners who have a few pieces of bullion laying around the house, as well as serious silver stackers. And because you all asked for it, I am going to repeat the same process to determine how much gold you need to be in the top 20%, 5%, and 1% of gold bullion owners worldwide. Now, just as we did with silver, we need to establish a few things right from the start, and I promise to cover them quickly. So, we are including only bullion coins and bars in this calculation, and no, jewelry doesn't count. As before, we are excluding national holdings and corporate holdings, so we're counting only private retail people. And when it comes to how much gold there is, meaning mined, I consulted the United States Geological Survey, which states that approximately 187,000 metric tons of gold has been mined as of today, which is about 6 billion troy ounces. And that number is actually pretty amazing when you think about it, because it is more than silver. And if you want me to cover the gold to silver ratio and how it is that gold is actually worth more than silver, even though there is more of it and it is generally less useful than silver, let me know now in the comments. But now, to round out our base assumptions, how much of that gold that has been mined is actually bullion grade coin or bar form? And that number is approximately 25%, which I consulted from goldprice.com, which gives us a grand total of 1.5 billion ounces of gold bullion. And when you think about it, it's actually not that much, because as we established in the silver video, there are about 5 billion adults in the world today. And if there are only 1.5 billion troy ounces of gold bullion, that means that there is only 0.3 troy ounces available per adult. And for every 1 full troy ounce of gold that you own, you are denying 3 people the ability to own a full troy ounce of gold as it stands today. And for those of you out there who have very large stacks of gold, I truly hope that number sinks in. Because once we exclude corporate and government holdings, you're going to see that number shrinks significantly. And this is why. Because together, corporations and nations hold about 1.168 billion ounces of gold bullion in reserves today. And as I said, this is a very fresh number coming from June 2022. As always, links to my data sources in the description if you want to check that out for yourself. Keep me honest, everybody. And once we exclude that gold from our calculations, that means private retail investors only have about 332 million ounces of physical gold bullion to split amongst themselves. Now, to start our calculation, we still need an assumption of how many people in the world today actually own some form of gold bullion. For this, I consulted multiple sources and came to the following conclusion. And as you can see, I added a large caption to this map that says adult population, because we obviously don't count children. In addition to that, you will also see the percentage of the population we're going to assume owns some form of gold bullion. And I am going to assume that you're all familiar with my methodology from the silver ownership video that I've done, so I will skip that point and I want to focus on two very important things that you may be thinking about before we carry on. The first is, why is gold ownership less than silver? Don't stackers generally have both? Now, please remember, we are counting owners here, not people you interact with in stacking forums. And as a general rule, it is much more common for somebody to have a few silver coins laying around than it is to have gold coins. The second point is, and this will explain why Asian numbers are so low, because Asians love gold, especially in India, where it is gifted during the Festival of Lights known as Diwali, and a big hello to all of my Indian viewers out there. But the reason this number is so low for them is that they own it in majority of jewelry form, which is true of many people who consider themselves to be gold owners in general. And that is why approximately 78% of gold mined each year in the 2000s has been in the form of jewelry. And just as a reminder, we are not counting jewelry in this calculation. That said, that still leaves us with a healthy number of physical gold bullion owners out there of about 61 million adults around the globe. And that, ladies and gentlemen, gives us these final assumptions. 61 million gold owners, as I've just said, competing for 332 million ounces of physical gold, leaving an average of 5.4 ounces per owner. Which is a small coincidence considering that in my video on how much gold and silver I think people should own, the amount of gold that I said I think people should own in general is about 5 troy ounces. I just thought that was neat. But now the big reveal, and we're going to start with how much gold you need to be in the top 20% of gold owners worldwide. So our distribution assumptions for gold are slightly modified versus silver, and the reason is because of the higher cost of gold versus silver. That cost difference will naturally result in gold bullion being concentrated into higher income profiles globally, meaning average wealth distribution data won't help us much in determining this. So what I have done is I have excluded the bottom 80% of the world to determine a better representation of wealth distribution amongst gold owners. As a result, the top 20% of gold owners have 60% of all the gold, whereas for silver that number was 80%. So if we break it down, that means the top 20% hold 199 million ounces of gold, and the bottom 80% hold about 133 million ounces. So it looks a bit more equitable versus silver, but remember, this is a much more exclusive group to be in. And if we break that down per person, that means to be in the top 20% of all physical gold owners, you need 16 troy ounces of the yellow rock, whilst the bottom 80% on average own approximately 2.7 ounces of gold. Now, moving on to the top 5%. Once we adjust for the gold specifics of wealth distribution, we get a group of people who own about 49% of gold bullion. And that breaks down just like this, with the top 5% holding approximately 163 million ounces of gold versus the bottom 95% having 169 million ounces. And again, splitting that per person means to be in the top 5%, you need roughly 53 ounces of gold bullion, whilst the bottom 95% have on average 3 ounces. That bottom number, of course, being helped up slightly by the people in the top 20% who didn't quite make it to the top 5%, just as we saw in the silver video. Okay, so if you've made it this far and are in the top 5%, please take a second to smash up the like button because you have a small house worth of gold, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. But now, moving on to the top 1%. And if I have a viewer in this group, please give me a sign somehow. Even if you don't want to make that public, send me an email or something. I would love to know how many of my viewers are actually in this elite group, because it is actually a lot of gold that you need to get into the top 1%. Because according to my estimates, the top 1% of gold owners worldwide own a whopping 30% of the gold bullion pool that we have to split up amongst retail gold investors. Which means that they own approximately 100 million ounces of gold. And I assume this is stored in vaults, much of it likely in Switzerland, by the way, which again I assert is a safe place to store gold. Not advice, but I got a little blowback last time I said that, but I stand by it. And when we break that down per person, that breaks down to about 164 ounces per person in the top 1%. Or another way to look at that would be 5 kilograms per person in the top 1%. And that is worth roughly $300,000 US as it stands today. So, in summary, to be in the top 20%, you need 16 ounces of gold. Top 5%, you need 53 ounces of gold. And to be in the top 1% of gold owners worldwide, you need about 164 ounces of gold bullion. As you can see, stacking gold is a completely different game than stacking silver. The amount of money that comes into play is just at another level. Now, I kindly ask you all right now to take a moment to share your feedback with me on this content in the comments section, because your feedback is extremely important to me. And remember, I will always respond to your comments some way, somehow. Respectful challenges, as always, are very much welcomed in the comments, and insults directed at me personally will be removed, okay? I mean, in my last video, somebody just went on a rant about how ugly I am and how my face is disgusting to see on YouTube. And I mean, what am I supposed to do with comments like that? So look, if you want to say something about this content, I welcome you to say it. If you want to disagree with me, again, I definitely welcome that. And I will respond to you. Sometimes I might even make a video if your challenge or response is interesting enough that I think it's worth sharing with the community. So again, I thank you all in advance for keeping it clean, okay? That said, I will be covering the Q&A soon in a separate video. I have all your questions and I will answer them. I promise you have not been forgotten. I've just been a little bit busy lately with a couple of projects that I've been working on, but they will soon be over, and I will get to that likely next week, either during the weekend at the latest, or actually like a midweek video. So you can count on me to answer your questions in the Q&A. And if you have additional questions based on this video, drop them in the comments and they very well likely will find their way to the Q&A video that I'm planning on doing soon. It's probably going to be a big one, so I'll appreciate if you watch that one as well. With that, I wish you all a fantastic day ahead. I'm actually going on a short vacation with my family. I haven't been on vacation yet this summer, so I'm hoping to have a good one. With that, again, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Sayonara.